Hello, everyone. This is Sharon Urias and Justin McNaughton, and we are here to talk to you about seasonal media lessons for brand owners by talking about Santa Claus and his trademarks. You may know already that Justin files trademarks and I fight about them. Today, we're going to be talking about Santa, and the opinions expressed about him are entirely our own and do not reflect the opinions of our law firm. I'll also tell you that the hypotheticals are entirely fictional. Any resemblance to anyone who happens to be named Santa Claus or St. Nicholas or Kris Kringle is entirely coincidental.
So, Sharon, I just have one thing to say.
That's not directed to me, is it? I don't know.
Right.
Well, thank you very much.
So our general counsel said that I have to give a trigger warning. I'm not entirely familiar with what that is, but our trigger warning is that we're going to take some shots at Santa. So please be advised. All right.
Right. So if you can't handle it, it's probably best to bow out now.
Yeah, best to bow out now. So
yeah.
Sharon, we talked about this the other day, but oh my goodness, what a disaster is Santa's operation from an IP perspective.
Yeah, he is definitely on the IP naughty list this year. I mean, if there is such a thing.
I don't know if there's such thing as an IP naughty list, but he's definitely, I don't know about this guy, but we'll get into that. Gosh.
Well, I guess, really the first question is, does Santa Claus have a trademark in the name Santa Claus? Can you have a trademark in your own name? That's really the first question, right?
Sure. And people do this all the time. People do this all the time. There's no problem. Sometimes it's somebody who's famous and they have a, famous name. And so they do that. Sometimes people have, now some things to think about though, like Santa is, or Santa Claus doesn't usually go by Claus. And that's pretty smart of him, because one of the things you got to worry about is surnames are actually difficult to protect. The default is you can't protect a surname. Now you can do it over time. But yeah, if he's going around calling himself Claus, it would have been a little more difficult. But Santa or Santa Claus, you can do that. So
and very, very crafty of him. I mean,
I wonder if I think it's a stage name though, right?
Right. Is it a stage name? I mean, isn't his real name Kris Kringle?
I thought that was another stage name, but I don't know.
No one really knows. I mean, and does he own Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as a trademark?
Right. So you stage names on the one hand, right, which are protectable. It's if you have a fake name for yourself and you want to register that, you can. You have to do, it's a little more complicated than a regular one, but yeah, this Rudolph issue that's an interesting one, because
it is.
Presumably he owns Rudolph, unless he leases him or something, but he owns Rudolph, and he's got, it's sort of like the old school, the new people that follow their dogs around on YouTube or whatever, right? Where you have this famous actor or this famous, his pet, I don't know.
Well, I know. And would the trademark be in just Rudolph, or would he have to, when you have a trademark, you always want to use it consistently in the same way. So right. Is he always calling him Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer every time he uses that brand, or is it only just Rudolph? And is he using Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as a brand? Because you can't just have a trademark in a name,
right? Because Rudolph is actually his pet. That has become this persona, right? And he's got all these people running around making money off of his pet, making songs, selling toys, candy, all this stuff. So he's got the same issues.
They're using the likeness, so they're not using a brand of Rudolph. So, I mean, we could spend a whole hour just talking about that issue, but I guess back to Santa, when we talked about this before, Justin, does he have an IP interest in his beard and costume, that red and white suit with the black belt?
So, and I think so. This is this kind of this trade dress concept. When you see that outfit, it's Santa. And I have a really funny story about this. So when my daughter she must have been about 6, and we had just moved into a new house, new neighborhood, had this swing set that you could, it had a little tree fort thing on the top. And we had this huge hedge that was like 6 feet tall between our house and the neighbor's house. So she used to love to go out there and play on the swing set. Well, she comes in, it must have been the week before Christmas, just completely white faced and just like, oh, Dad, Santa's at the neighbor's house. And
was it Santa?
Like, and we were like, oh, and we went out and looked and couldn't find him. And she's like, Dad, I'm pretty sure he went in the neighbor's house. And come to find out, our neighbor would dress up as Santa Claus at one of the local malls every year. So we'd see him, and I don't think Santa was getting involved there, and I don't think there were any royalties going back to Santa. So that's something you got to look at, right? Like he's got impersonators or people, and these aren't just tributes, right? Like
no, not like Elvis Elvis impersonators jumping out of planes and jumpsuits.
Yeah, these aren't people that are like, oh, a tribute to Santa at the mall. This is like, hey, Santa Claus is at our mall. Come in and we'll like charge you money for your picture. So that's, you as a trademark owner, you've got an obligation to stop that kind of stuff. Because people don't know.
They're using his goodwill, right?
Yeah, and all these kids are confused. All these kids think it's Santa. I don't know. But
can you stop them now at this point?
That's tough, right? Because you got latches. If you don't protect your brand, at some point you either lose it or you are severely limited in what you can do to stop people. So right. Yeah, I mean, if he's been, granted, it hasn't been this bad, but he's been letting this go on for several hundred years, it's going to be kind of rough.
I think it would be very rough. And the truth is, when you're a trademark owner, you do have an obligation to enforce and protect your rights, or as you said, you'll lose them, you'll dilute the value. I mean, as far as we know, because we don't represent Santa or anyone who's received any, cease and desist letters, I'm not aware that he's ever sent a cease and desist letter to, Mall of the Americas or, Century City Mall in Los Angeles or anything like that. We don't know if he has any licensing agreements. I highly doubt it.
I feel like Twitter would know if he had sent some demand letters.
I think we would have seen them. I mean, definitely those would be leaked. Is there a possibility for abandonment? Certainly dilution.
Yeah, dilution, because you got people running around and all of a sudden it's like Santa's everywhere. Is there really a Santa, right? Like, but yeah, I don't know about abandonment though, because so it is an interesting one, right? Where dude comes out once a year, but it's regular. Like he's been doing this for a long time. It's regular, and I think once a year is fine.
So that's continuous annual use, right?
Yeah. So I mean, you could, and there are other businesses where you do something seasonally, and that's fine. You can register your trademark. You can do whatever you want. It just has to be regular. And here, once a year.
Also, Rudolph once a year. It's interesting too when we talk about other marks. I'll just say this real quickly. You got Mrs. Claus, and she's using her name primarily as a surname. Does anyone even know what her first name is?
I don't know.
I don't know either. So I think that she would have a really hard time enforcing any trademark rights in the Mrs. Claus persona.
Right.
I'm just throwing that out there.
But it does seem like something ripe for their heirs to fight about, right? Like,
I think so. If they do have heirs. So
yeah. So, or they may still be up there. Who knows? So, okay. There's a darker side of Santa though.
Uh-oh.
This is, and this one kind of bugs me a little bit. People don't really talk about this, which I think is interesting, but so he claims he's got this workshop up the North Pole. He's making all of this stuff. When I was a kid, all the things that were under the tree definitely had other people's brands on it. Like it'd be Hasbro or Star Wars or whatever. There wasn't any like, I couldn't tell which things actually Santa made. So I don't know. I kind of feel like he might be passing off other people's goods as his own.
That is a problem. I mean, so you've got a passing off issue, you've got a counterfeiting issue, which could subject him to treble damages. If, Mattel or Hasbro, one of these companies decided to sue him, he could have some real problems.
But on the flip side, though, he's pretty smart about this, right? Because he only comes out of the North Pole once a year. So how on earth are you going to sue him? Like maybe that's why it hasn't happened. Like they don't know where this guy is. It's really hard to go after him. And where are you going to get jurisdiction, right? Like you can't unless you can grab him when he's here on the 24th. How are you going to get jurisdiction in the US? I
don't know how you get jurisdiction. I don't know how you'd serve him either. I mean, you have to wait at somebody's house, and when he pops out of the chimney, you have a process server give him the complaint. I don't know.
So anyway, maybe that's how he's getting away with this. He's just
It
gonna
could
pass it
be.
off, and everybody's just like, yeah, it's too hard to find him.
Well, and
Yeah, maybe he's hanging out with OJ somewhere.
that definitely is a darker side of Santa. So I'm glad that you gave that trigger warning at the beginning, because people could be very upset to think about Santa Claus. You see that in the movies, you see these elves up there hammering away and making the goods. So it sort of raises ownership IP issues for me. I mean, don't you think, does he have invention agreements with these elves? What sort of confidentiality agreement does he have with them? Because you know that if, as the employer, you have employees that are making products on behalf of the company, who is the inventor? That is a more of a patent issue, but it is an IP issue that we need to consider here. Who owns the rights to these products, and does he have NDAs regarding the inventions, the
This
location?
is assuming he's actually making anything, right?
Right, assuming he
So
is.
if he's actually inventing things. But on the other hand, dude's a master of trade secrets.
Oh,
So nobody even knows
you don't
where
have
his
to tell
shop
me
is.
that. I mean, no one knows where his shop is.
Nobody even
No,
knows
no.
who made this stuff. And
You don't.
apparently he's got some kind of like ability to keep his workers quiet, because nobody's
Talking.
Nobody's talking. So maybe he's doing something right up there.
Well,
I don't know.
we also don't know his other trade secrets. Nobody has any idea how he manages to fly around the entire globe in a night, going to all these houses. We don't know how he makes the sleigh fly either. I mean, we think we know, but we really don't. And we don't know how he goes up and down the chimney. So he's taking, I mean, you could say reasonable measures. Clearly he's taking more than reasonable measures to protect those trade secrets. Nobody's talking.
Yeah,
It's
on
like
our last,
Coca-Cola, right? The Coca-Cola formula. No one knows how it was made.
yeah, no, for sure. Now, okay, so here's another one is let's talk about this naughty nice list.
Oh, yeah. The naughty and nice list. I mean, do you think that qualifies as a trade secret?
So I have some thoughts on this naughty nice list. So one is like, let's just think about this in context. So assuming he has this, he's claiming that he has information basically on every person in the world, where they live, and what they've been doing. So first of all, that suggests,
That's kind of a scary thought, isn't it?
it is, that suggests like some next level like government kind of surveillance stuff. But let's assuming he does it, right? Think about the privacy issue. He's got all this data up there that people, I mean, if that ever got out, well, of course they got to find him, but
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot of risk he's carrying. I don't know what kind of insurance he's got.
I don't either. That sort of makes your head spin. And when you think about the elves up there, we're not getting into any of the labor law issues and all that sort of thing, compliance, OSHA.
No.
We're not going down that road. We're only here to talk about the IP issues. So I guess the question is, for the naughty and nice list, what sort of process does he have in place? Is there some sort of measures that he's taking to maintain the secrecy of that particular information? And I think that would definitely qualify as a trade secret.
Yeah. And now the flip side, and this is an interesting risk, right? He's got this list. I mean, the other thing is if he published that, all of a sudden you've got defamation cases. I assume he's got something to back this stuff up, right? Because if he doesn't, I mean,
I don't know.
It seems like Santa's running a pretty risky enterprise is what I'm saying.
He definitely is. I think if he really wanted to monetize, because we don't know how he funds, where does he get the product from? Where does he get all the goods, the raw goods that he's using to manufacture the products? So we don't know what sort of agreements he has in place and what sort of protections he's taking to maintain all of that. But the bottom line is he doing any licensing deals?
Yeah, so does he have rights? Maybe he has secret licenses with all these people, and that's why he can sell Star Wars stuff. I'll give you that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
He must have a licensing agreement with Disney. I mean,
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's got, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm pretty sure Disney found him somehow. So So he's got to have some licenses with some of these products.
You
I
would
agree
think
with
so,
you.
but I mean, as far as we know, he's not getting royalties from the movie The Santa Claus or, Jingle All the Way. I mean, those sort of things, if he were really taking ownership of his IP, he'd be making bank. And that's how he could fund his
Yeah,
operations in North Pole. So he
I
really,
agree. I agree. Um, Now, okay, here's another question. So,
right?
did we talk about, and I'm like, I'm not even sure if we've talked about this fact that, like, what about the fact that it, you know, he might be like allegedly building toys all year, but he's not really doing much the rest of the year. What
No,
do you
he's
think?
not.
Does that matter?
Well, so just to sort of take this back to the trademark issue, in order to qualify as a trademark, you have to be using your mark in commerce. And so people ordinarily think of selling a good or a service in commerce in order to qualify to obtain your registration or to obtain your common law protection. So what you're really asking is, if he's not doing any manufacturing, if he's not selling, he's only doing it once a year, does that qualify as use in commerce for purposes of the Lanham Act? Is that really what you're
Yeah.
asking?
So what do you think?
I think it probably does, because he's, number one, he's doing it annually. Number two, there's no requirement that you're actually selling. You just have to be using it in commerce. And clearly flying around the globe on a sleigh, well, but is he using it? He doesn't have Santa Claus on branded goods. So how is he using it?
I don't know. That's, it's pretty genius though, right? To have this kind of level of fame, and you don't
No
really ever
more,
see him
no.
using it anywhere.
Yeah, it's because normally when you're talking about trademark use, you're talking about, say, the label inside your shirt, you're talking about the logo, you're talking about the brand under which the goods or services are being traded on. Here, as I said, it's not like the sleigh says Santa Claus on the side. It's not like he's selling Santa Claus branded merchandise, because as you said, he's passing off all these goods as his own. So how is he using it?
Or has a licensing deal.
Or
Or
he's
has a
like,
licensing deal.
so tell me, Justin, how is he using the Santa Claus mark?
I don't know. I really don't.
But he's got everybody using it on his behalf, right? So you go
Maybe
to the
that's it.
mall,
Maybe we're wrong. Maybe these malls all send a check to the North Pole.
right?
And
And
maybe
all of
it's all
they're
just a big
using it.
licensing enterprise.
So they're using it to his benefit as opposed to their, I mean, they're
Could
monetizing it, but
be.
they're using it in his name.
I mean, it's whatever he's doing, it's pretty well run because, I mean, we've been in the system for a while and I don't know how it's working. And you'd think, given what we do, we might have a hint at it, but maybe he's actually licensed all these things and he has, a lot of confidentiality associated with it, but people just don't know.
It's pretty brilliant, but
So,
it's sort of, when you talk about that mall issue and using for the benefit of the trademark owner, do you have to have a license in order to use it for the benefit of the trademark owner? You don't
yeah,
have to have
so
a written license agreement. It could be an
you don't have to have a
implied
written
one.
one, but you do, like, if you're using it without someone's permission and you're making money from it, or you know, then yeah, you need permission, and the person who owns it needs to be doing something about that. So,
And they need to regulate the quality and the
right,
manner in which their mark is being
right,
used.
because unless, I mean, think about that. Like, I've seen some pretty sketchy Santa Clauses in my day in a couple of malls, right? Like, I don't think that you got the same. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of oversight going into the consistency of the quality of these
Well, no, I
services.
mean, and that brings up, do you remember that movie Bad Santa? We won't get into the merit of the movie or the content
Oh
of this.
no, here we go.
Right, but you've got Billy Bob, who's a drunk, beaten down Santa Claus. That's not exactly projecting the image that you would think Santa wants to project associated with his brand. So does that qualify as a parody or fair use, or what do you think?
I don't think it's a parody. I I think it's just straight. If it were real, okay, so it's in a movie, so it's a little different.
Right.
But if that was real, I think that's just straight infringement and dilution. But
I agree. I think he
so
could get some serious damages for that, because I think it'd be willful, and I think that it would really harm the brand, the
Well,
goodwill.
let's talk about the I want to talk about something about the North Pole, and then we'll wish everybody a happy holidays. Does that work?
Sounds good.
So, okay. So this is the other part. So trademarks, we know country by country. Intellectual property rights, usually country by country.
Mhm.
There are treaties, so that you can take your trademark from one country and register in another country. Santa Claus, though, has figured out the loophole, right? He's up in the North Pole, and there's no government to the North Pole. There's no court system. I did a little bit of research this morning because I had to know, and it looks like it's basically just a treaty. Most of the North Pole is treated just like the oceans. And so maybe that's part of this, is that he knows doesn't matter what he does, nobody can come get him.
Yeah, and I don't know international law at all, but if you're sailing around the world with, say, a big Nike emblazoned on your boat, we're not even going there, but I guess it's the same kind of issue as what you're talking about. You've got Santa Claus flying around the world, camping out in the North Pole.
And most of the time in like international maritime law or something. So
exactly. So
I don't know. I don't know about this guy.
No, these are interesting issues. They're fun to talk about, and they certainly have good lessons for trademark owners in how to use and not use your brand.
Well, appreciate you all watching. Happy holidays, and we will be back with maybe something more serious next time.
Yes. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Take care.